this morning. It's very nice to see so many of you today. We had quite a lot of people signing up for this event, and unfortunately we could only have 50 here inside. We have another 100 people on the waiting list, but we hope they will join us on the streaming. We have also a lot of people watching on our streaming session. So welcome everyone out there, everyone in here, and not least the panel. Thanks for coming, all of you. And this morning we are going to talk about certifications. We all know that this green transition has been going on for some time, and this is something that is a very important issue for many Danish companies. And in Denmark we use certain types of certifications, and today we will look into what kind of certification do we mostly use in Denmark. And we have a panel here of 3 companies also talking about which certification they use and how they use it and why they use it. And also we will look into a little bit more about the users, the end users. How do they perceive these certification? Is it transparent for them what certification is out there? And how are they different from each other? And the last question we will ask the panel is about the future. How do they see the future for the certifications, and also for the company who's using the certifications? How do they actually encourage themselves and the certification to adopt new issues? And we will try to make it as interactive as possible. So we will also have some time for questions from you. You are specially elected to be here today, so we hope you have some really sharp questions as well to ask the panel. So please, if you have any questions during the session, write them down, and we will have some time for you to ask these questions in the end. But first, I would like to introduce the panel here today. From my furthest right, for your furthest left, is Nille Skalts, and she is from the B-Corp. And next to her is Jesper Panduro from Skagerak.
Yeah, Skagerak.
And then next, number 3 in the road is Ditmer from Wilton. And then we have Annette Hastrup from Cradle-to-Cradle. And the next we have here is Ingrid Elmedal from Ecolabel. And last but not least is Kiel from FDB Furniture. So this is our panel today, the people who is going to make a very good introduction to this subject for you. And after the session, we have to finish exactly at 11. We will go into the courtyard, and I have asked the panelists to be a little bit later or stay a little bit longer, so you have also a possibility to go and talk to them directly. With 1 meter distance, of course. And also please try to keep 1 meter between you here. Good, we will start with Nille. Will you start to tell us all about the B-Corp? What is the certification all about? And what is it you offer the companies who is signing up with you?
Yes, thank you. That's a huge question. I think I'm not going to start with the certification, because B-Corp or B Corporation is more than just a certification. It's actually a movement, and it's actually a movement of business leaders on a mission to accelerate a transition to a regenerative economy. And when you're on a mission like that, it sounds really huge and big. You have to redefine what is the role we are playing as businesses in society. You have to start sort of questioning, what kind of business is it that I have created, and what do I want to use it for? And that's touching the design criteria of a business. Why is it in business? Who is it there for? What's the fiduciary duty? Who are we serving? And how are we in business? So when you start from that perspective, it becomes much more than just a certification. You need a standard, you need design criteria, you have to sort of validate that you are this type of business. But it is actually a mindset and a way of thinking about being in business. So with that starting point, I think the most important thing to take away from what is B-Corp and what is a B-Corp certification, it is thinking about the why I am in business and how I use my business to ensure that we are on a transition to a regenerative economy. And that means you have to be good business for everyone. And good, then it becomes normative. What is good and what are design criteria for good? Some of you are designers. You know that if you design for cheap, you get something cheap. If you design for long lasting, you get something different. And when you ask that question, then you have to start looking at how am I good for my employees? Have I designed good operational systems for my employees? What about the local environment I'm a part of? What about the climate, the environment? What about my governance structure? What about what I'm delivering for the customers? So you're looking in a 360 perspective on your business. And you can look at that in the perspective of a certification from operational practices or your everyday procedures, or you can look at that from your impact business model. Are you using the core of your business to create value for the world? And I think that's the main shift if we are moving to a regenerative economy. You have to start asking as a business, am I here to extract the most possible financial value from the business, or am I here to find out how I build value for society into every single aspect of my business model?
Very good, Nille. I think that got a really good perspective, and we will have time to go further into the details. And next to you, we have actually put you all in pairs. So yes. There is a meaning with the numbers and on the way the panelists are standing here. Jesper, you have... I see on your SoMe channels you are quite happy with the B-Corp, and I know that you also are a good spokesman for the movement of certification. Please let us know why you have chosen to use B-Corp as your way to explain your values in your company.
First of all, we are proud B-Corps. And then, why do we do that? Why are we members of the B-Corp movement? And I think for me, it's all about responsibility. It's responsibility for the planet. I think you need to help save the planet. It's responsibility for your local community. Sorry, I have to do something here, right? It's very noisy. I breathe heavily. No, I think you need to support your local community. And I also think that you need to look at your business, how can I empower the people in my team? And I think when you look at that, then you have to say to yourself, profit can never be more important than purpose. But for many, many years, profit has been the most important thing. But in my mind, profit may never be more important than purpose. And I think when you are a B-Corp, the way that you act, the way you think, the way you develop is to say, how can we use our business as a force of good? Is it better? And when you say, put it down to a company as ours, which is more than 40 years old, we are on a mission to try to change the perspective from consumer to user. And that's easy to say, but difficult to do. And it's about creating long-lasting products that people will hopefully buy and love and keep forever. But I also found out that people don't keep things forever. Few people do. So some years ago we created Reclassic. Reclassic is a take-back guarantee from our company. So if you find out maybe you don't like it anymore, the product, or you don't need it because it's too big, you can give it back to us and we resell it. So we give you a voucher and then you resell the product. And to me that's like a very pure form of circular thinking and acting. It's pretty simple because we take it back. We don't upcycle or anything. We just look at it. Is it okay? Not broken, and we can resell it. So the product will live on and on and on.
And was it your certification for B-Corp that kind of encouraged you to make this Reclassic?
It's not B-Corp that did it. I think B-Corp is a way of understanding how you use your business in the society. And when you have that mindset, it's also natural to think, how can we save resources? Mm-hmm. How can you make sure that we are on a long lasting?
Sure. Yeah, good. Thank you very much. And please write down all your questions and don't forget them. We will get to that later, and we will move on to the next certification, which is the Cradle to Cradle. Annette, will you give you a little pitch?
I think perhaps it's my mic. So Cradle to Cradle Certified is an internationally recognized global standard for safe, circular, and responsibly made products and materials. So it's a very holistic certification scheme. We have 5 certification categories. One is material health, next is product circularity. Then we have clean air and climate protection. water and soil stewardship, and social fairness. And these categories are the new categories in the new version 4, which will be launched later this year. So as I said, it's a very holistic certification, and it's also a pathway to continuous improvement, because we have various certification levels from bronze, silver, gold to platinum. So we evaluate the products and materials within each of these categories, so you might achieve different levels within each of the categories, but the overall certification level will equal the lowest. And then you have to recertify your products every second year and demonstrate improvements. So in that way, it becomes a pathway to the positive. It's also a very good tool if you want to demonstrate progress towards the UN global goals. Yes, and what else should I say to begin with?
No, I think it's fine, because it gives a good insight into the certification. And then I think Lone will tell us why they have chosen, Wilton have chosen the Cradle to Cradle, and how they're using it in their daily business.
Yeah. We chose Cradle to Cradle primarily because of the international perspective, because our business is based on 99% exports. So we had to have a label that was well known outside Denmark as well. Then we also believe that Cradle to Cradle is one of the most holistic approaches to sustainability, with the 5 categories of certification. Honestly, we actually believed to begin with that Cradle to Cradle was only for large companies. That as a medium-sized company, we were not able to do this. We do not have the resources. We do not have this great CSR department. But we got to know Annette and her team, and we realized actually we were already very well on the way. We are producing in Denmark, so in regards to social fairness and in regards to controlling the whole production process, we are really well on the way. But of course, Cradle to Cradle is a philosophy as well, just like you said with B-Corp. So it's changing your mindset in the way you do business. So it's not only about circularity, it's also really a lot about circularity. But it's also about looking into the material health of your product. If you use bad materials like PVC or some other banned materials, you shouldn't bring it on into a circular economy. So actually you have to have another starting point. So what Cradle to Cradle does is mapping where you are, and then, as Annette said, you have to improve and progress. So for us, actually, Cradle to Cradle is much more than just a certification. It's our tool for the sustainable business development.
But how has it helped you in business, for example? Have you had customers actually saying, oh, this is great, we've just been waiting for certified carpets like yours?
Yes and no. Designers and architects are very much into sustainability, and very much they really want to make the right choice, but it's difficult because it's not black or white. It's more like 50 shades of grey when you're in this. On the other hand, we have the purchasers. We do carpets for cruise ships and hotels, so it's huge amounts of carpets. So every euro cent counts. So it's also for them about price. But if we can push this agenda with the designers and architects who really want to make the right choice, it's a good way to go. But of course, as I said, Cradle to Cradle is recognized, well known, but it's more on a level where we heard about it, we know it's about circular economy, but we don't really know what is in it. And in this sense, we got to have really good conversations one-to-one with our customers, kind of educating them what this means to our business, how we see this. So we really got to add value in the conversations with our customers and partners.
Now we heard Annette saying that there's silver, gold, and platinum. Where are you?
We started with one certificate covering actually a wide range of carpets, because we do bespoke design. So every carpet we produce is produced for the specific area in question. So we started out with one certificate on bronze level. Now we have 4 certificates, 2 on bronze and 2 on silver.
Yeah, and that's the overall level.
That's the overall level. We do gold within social fairness. We do gold within material reutilization.
But what do you think? Now I'm also asking to Jesper before I get to you, because this seems like it's a lot of work. Do you have one person full-time dedicated to this in your organizations, or how does it work?
No. I think if you do that, you do it wrong. I think it has to be part of the thinking and daily operation in your business.
So it's actually already incorporated?
I think at the beginning it's okay, it's a tool, because you have to learn it. But after it has been a tool, it has to be a kind of value in your mindset.
Okay.
If you don't, I think it's too difficult to handle.
Sure. Luna, what do you say?
Yeah, that's the same. You can't have sustainability in one department. It has to be your core business. So I also had colleagues coming to me and pointing out difficulties. We can't do this because this is not the way we should do it. So it's really changing the mindset overall in the organization.
Okay, then I look forward to hear about the Ecolabel. You have 2 certifications under your wings.
Yeah.
And of course, they are very well known here in the Nordic, and the flower, EU flower, is of course big in EU. Mm-hmm. Could you please tell us a little bit about what it's all about?
Yes,
Thank you.
I come from Ecolabel Denmark. And as you said, Betina, we are working with 2 eco-labels here in Denmark, 2 official eco-labels. The first one is the Nordic Swan Ecolabel, which I suppose most of you know. It's in fact 93% of the Danes which knows about the Nordic Ecolabel. And this label was developed 30 years ago, so we have a lot of experience working with eco-labels. And the EU Ecolabel is the EU Commission Ecolabel, which started also almost 30 years ago. It was in 1992. The overall goal with these 2 eco-labels, it is to reduce the overall environmental impact from production and consumption, and it's both on products and also on services. So you will have a product-specific criteria documents, which goes in for furniture as an example. Then we set in specific criteria minded for furniture production. To ensure the maximum environmental impact, then both the label that set, as I said, the specific requirements, and we evaluate these requirements every 4th to 5th years. In that way, we push the market and the producers to be more and more environmentally friendly. The labels, they are very powerful tools for the producers to use them in their development of the products, but also it is a very powerful tool for consumers. So when they go out to do the shops, it can be in the grocery stores, but also, as we see more and more right now in furnitures, then you can recognize the labels on the products, and in that way you know that you buy an environmentally friendly product.
Can I just make something clear, because it sounds like it's when you develop new products, you will take this certification and you use the guidelines, or can you also have existing products and change some things? So
you can do it in both ways.
Okay.
So you can also, if you have an existing product, the thing is that we have a huge set of criteria, and you must fulfill all of them. If maybe in an existing product that there are some demands that you can fulfill, then you will need to work a little bit with development. And we often see that with producers which want to go and have the Nordic Swan Ecolabel or the EU Ecolabel on already produced products or products in the market. But you can also do, as some of our license holders has done, TACT as an example, then you put in the criteria and use them as the guideline in which demands do I need to put on my suppliers so I can fulfill the demands.
When we work a lot with circular economy, a lifestyle design cluster, we will run the 2 national programs. And when I see what's happening, how fast it's going with this green transition and the speed of new things, I say that you change every 4 years.
For 5th
year.
Yeah.
Is it sufficient enough, do you think? Or?
Maybe for some it is, but you must also see it out from the producer's perspective. Every time that we do this revision, you need to go the whole product life cycle, and the thing which makes both the Nordic Swan Ecolabel and the EU Ecolabel special compared to other labels is that we go in and set demands in all product life cycles. So we look at all the raw materials, we look at the production side, we also put in good quality, so it's from the consumer perspective, and also in the waste. So for all these 4 phases, we will need to go in and set demands. So we don't go out and do this every second year, because otherwise then the license holders, our customers, they will just need to work development all the time. So, but in some product areas, you will find Nordic Swan Ecolabel in 61 product areas, and in some product areas, the development is going very slow. So in that way, maybe our criteria documents will be valid for more than 4-5 years.
Okay, thank you. Ole, now you are a user of the Ecolabel,
Yes.
your company is.
Yes.
I know that you also, you were nodding when I said, do you need to update? But please let us know.
It's just one product.
Yeah,
you know,
I know. But it's good to create a little bit of a distance. No. Could you tell us, FDB Furniture, why did you choose to use certification? Why is there a need for you to have this certification?
Yeah, I have to start a little back, because we are actually owned by 1.8 million Danes, so we have to act good in the society in Denmark or in the world. So that's why we think. So when we started with the FDB Furnitures again in 2012-13. It was just natural, because we also a member of, we are owned by Coop, who is owned by those members. So in the beginning, we were, I think the way we think is to be responsible in everything we do. So from the beginning, everything we did was FSC, all textiles, Oekotex, and so on. And I think then now we have to build on the Swan. We should actually have done that from the beginning, but I don't think we was able to do that. But we think that the Swan is a very good, and we hope that the customers also will demand it in a certain time. Today, no one does, but we hope it will come.
Oh, that's a very good keyword for me.
Yeah. But we hope it will come, and we are working with the Swan. I think we have 5 products now with the Swan or something like that, and I think during the next year we will change nearly half of our assortment to the Swan. So when we're working also with the factories, we're going out to find new factories. It's like Camilla calls it a benspænd, because it's very difficult to find producers who can actually produce to the Swan. Our biggest issue is actually when we paint. We have to paint with water based, yes. And the drying time on the factory is 4 times as long, and when you use other materials, and they don't have the space actually to do that. They don't have the capacity to do that. But every time we meet a factory, we will ask them that should be possible during half a year, 1 year, 1.5 years. So our ambition actually, because we believe the Swan is very good for the environment and also the way we think, and we hope that the Danes, the 1.8 million, will demand it also for buying. But so that's actually how we think in all we do, because that's our DNA, and that's because also we come from the corporation, I think. So yeah. So. Yeah.
But I think that's really a couple of points I want to ask everyone, because it seems for me certification it's a lot of work, it's a lot of details. And it's of course a way when you work with the green transition, you have to somehow verify what is it you're doing. Is there any way we can get some help to make it publicly known what criteria, what goals do we have, and what do we work towards? But is it not? First of all, it's adding on cost maybe to the products, and is the consumer? Are they really happy, or your user? I know, Lone, you are B2B, but is it your consumer? Are they really demanding that you have these certification, or is it because you as a company just really want to do good? I don't think that's bad, of course, but somehow there will be companies who say, okay, we need to do all this work. It's really complicated. Maybe if you're starting the process, and when you get further on, it gets easier, but it's worth it.
I think it will be worth it,
Yeah.
because it's like, of course, it takes a lot of work in the beginning. Then you get used to it, and your factories get used to it, so it gets easier and easier to do it. But I think it's like when Irma in 1986 sold the first carrots in Ecologic. They rotten up in the shop because no one wanted to buy them.
Irma is a big,
large supermarket chain in Copenhagen. But today they have like 40% of their turnover in ecological products. So I think we just have to work with it. I think it will take 10, 15, 20 years, because it's the people who's growing up now. It's the people who is between 10 and 25 maybe now who's in the future will buy the products. I don't think we can change us. I don't buy so much ecologic, but we have to work with it in a long time, and also like I think it's like you can look at like the ecologic products, and it have taken 30 years or 35 years to get up on that level.
Yeah.
And
so you just advance of your time.
Yes,
so
yes. But
Lona, do you have any comments on that?
Yes, I believe it will be ticket to play, just like our fire certificates are today. Of course, we are very happy to help push the agenda, and I really believe we are. But we can't do this by ourselves. We're a medium-sized company based in Denmark. So, but I think changing the mindset overall will help really push the agenda. And as you said, the young generation, I have children, they cook at school without meat. If I was a meat factory, I would kind of consider what will happen when they start cooking themselves. So it's a direction, and I think we just have to embrace it and then be front runners instead of waiting for regulations.
Jesper, Skagerak, are you doing this because of you're really, I know you have a big heart and you want to do good. Is it because you also think this is the future to be responsible as a company? Is it to attract the best also employees? What is your motivation?
The motivation is the responsibility. And I think if you start out using a certification to have a competitive advantage, I think it's wrong. Because you have, in my opinion, the wrong driver. And the wrong motivation. So I think you should do it because you believe in it. And then over time, and also accept that you're in a niche. We now talked about organic food. There's still a split between conventional food and organic food. So will it ever be 100% organic? Maybe, maybe not. You don't know. So I think here, know that you're in a niche. Do it from your heart, because that's what you believe in. And I think those two things, if you combine them with the niche, somebody will look for something that has a low price, maybe cheap. Others will look for something that will last a lifetime. The certificate for us is a way to help us build our values and tools into a daily operation. We don't do it to be able to say, we are B-Corp, you're not. I hope that many more in my industry will be B-Corp, because I think it's better for the planet. So I think in the long run, it's not about my business, it's about the planet.
And of course the planet, we have scarce resources and we have to take really good care of those. We already have pulled out of the different fields and so on. And Nille, I know that's also something that's really, this about the scarce resources, and that we make sure that we are helping the planet to survive more generations is something that's really important to you.
Yeah. I think one of the main questions, and which are also the questions that the three business leaders here are stressing, is we have a responsibility of intergenerational equity. We have to figure out how do we, if we go back to what is sustainability in the original definition of Core Harlem Brundtland, is about living our lives today without taking away or harming future generations' possibilities of living their lives. And when we are there, then it's a huge responsibility on the shoulders of the business leaders, and we need to be there to help them. And essentially, our certifications or brands are guidelines and helps in making choices and deciding things, because you're still going to be doing, go this way or that way, and we don't really know. There are loads of things we don't know on that, and I think that the main shift in should consumers choose someone because of a certification? I don't think so. They should choose businesses that they believe in, and certifications might be a little bit of that, but it's only the tiny bit of who you are. You can have a certification and still have a lot of other things you have to deal with. I think it's a question of ethics, it's a question of a new normal, it's a question of having that dialogue with everyone out there, with the designers, with the investors. We haven't even talked about the investors, which I think is the main element. One thing is what we buy, and there are, I don't know, 600 different brands we can choose from in terms of certifications and all kinds of stuff. We're never going to understand that, even with the best of communication. We have to have the dialogue about what kind of business do we want, and how does that look in the product, how does that look in the process, how does that look in the ethics and the philosophy and the whole element. And it's a big discussion, and we can't put that on businesses alone, we can't put that on the brands. Or
no, but it's nice to be, want to save the world, be holistic, but when you look at
But I don't think it's a question about saving the world. I think it's a question about being a business leader who can tell your kids or your grandchildren or that I am actually not bad. I mean, I've been in business forever. I've been a business consultant forever, and saying I'm a management consultant, that wasn't really sort of, way, that's great. But it doesn't mean that business is bad, and I think we're redefining that role of business in society in different ways. You've been redefining that by how you are founded, the way that you're owned. You're redefining that because you're a owner who wants to do something different with your business. You're redefining. That's the discussion that we're having, and that we need to have that with the consumers, because the consumers is not, you say users. I like to call us citizens.
But what do you do to explain that to the consumers?
What do we do? Well, most of all, we help build businesses who are that and who raise that voice. And some of them are activistic enough to stand here and say, "Hey, I'm not sustainable. I'm a responsible company, but there's so much more that I need to be doing." Being transparent on that, I think that's the most we can do. Raise the dialogue, have the conversations, invite people in, and continuously think. None of us are sustainable. We're responsible, but sustainable, it doesn't exist.
Annette, you had the comment.
Yeah, I think,
what are you doing, cradle to cradle?
Yeah, but I agree with Nille, but I think certification is also about credibility, because sustainability, climate change, etc., is very high on the agenda, and nowadays all companies would claim that they are sustainable. So I think it's important that you have this third-party verified certification. And I agree there's a lot of different certification, but if you have a label which is recognized, then it is at least a sign of that you have had somebody to verify what you're doing. And then you also asked about, is it difficult or is it expensive and so on. I haven't heard from any of our clients that they raised the price just because they got certified. But what I also experienced is that one thing is initially they want the certification to prove what they're doing, but then they realize and get very excited about the whole process, because it brings you insight in what are your products made of, how can you innovate, how can you develop, how can you communicate what you're doing?
Yeah,
so it just becomes part of the business, and I don't think we should look at it as an add-on. I mean, it's hard to do business anyway. It is. So this is just another aspect.
But I know that the Swan and the EU Flower, you do a lot of information campaigns to the consumers, so they kind of understand what is behind it.
Yeah, we are a non-profit organization, so no, we don't have a huge marketing budget, but we do what we can. We have in social media to explain to the consumers, and we want to inspire to a sustainable life, and we know, for example, with the Nordic Swan Ecolabel, it's the Nordics is really reliable. It's also very trustworthy about production in the Nordics, and in that way we try also to inspire both the consumers, but also the labels are also used by the professional buyers, Today, a lot of companies, they work with the UN goals, sustainable goals, but a lot of them, they need documentation. How can we document that? For example, we focus with goal 12. In that way, when you have the labels, then you have the documentation for that.
And how do you see, for example, I know some furniture companies that I've been talking to, and they have the sworn certification, and they say it's really good, it's very nice for the Nordic market. But when we move to the US market or Asian market, we have to have other kind of certification that's kind of used in their markets. Yeah. And they have actually maybe one or two people who's actually sitting and working with these certifications. Are you doing any collaboration with any of the overseas certifications? So maybe in fact, if you have the sworn or the EU flower, you're already on the way. You don't have to do all the way from the bottom up.
There could be a little bit more work doing in the communication outside the Nordics. But for both the Nordic Sworn Ecolabel and the EU Ecolabel, they are what we call Type 1 Ecolabels. And there are a whole organization, a global organization called Global Ecolabeling Network, working with these Type 1 Ecolabels. And in this network, they work together in going out and tell about the what's called the baselines in the criteria.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have just one more question, and then we will open up for questions. Because this is fine, and it all looks good, and we have still work to do. But what about the future? This green transition, the goals of the companies, more and more is on the movement. I know, Nille, you've been very busy. We have lots of companies who are interested in being a part of a movement, but also to use the certification, as you say, for some kind of verification and to set goals. Where are we now, where we want to be, and where do we have issues we have to work with. But how do you see the future? When we're standing here in 5 years' time, I invite you again in 5 years' time. Where do you see you are as a certification and as a user of the certification? Do you have, and now you have to be honest, do you have issues in a certification you say, oh, I wish there was more focus on that, or I think this will be coming? And I'm sure there will be no angry minds here afterwards. I think you just please share your thoughts with the people here today. Nille?
5 years is a short time when you're building a movement. We started 5 years ago here in the Nordics, and you can start seeing that a little bit of that movement is running. My ambition is not certifying every single company in the Nordics. My ambition is radically redefining the design criteria for business. Certification is just a way of proving that it's actually possible to do so. For me, it's much more a question of moving the fiduciary duty of the businesses. Why are we in business? Who are we there for? And who are we accountable to? So that's what I'm seeing now much more. And that means that we also have to educate the other sectors around us. So for me, in 5 years, we will be a movement, but much more with imperatives for what is a new economy.
Is it something you're building in B-Corp? It's something in an area you're focused on now, yeah?
And you're going to see globally that in 2 weeks' time, it's the anniversary of Milton Friedman's very important article. If any one of you went to business school, then 50 years ago, he published The Business of Business is creating profits for shareholders. And that's now that we're seeing, okay, it took 50 years before we start to sort of erase that again from the mindset of all the nice young women and men coming from the business school. So this is the moment of what are the imperatives for the 21st century. So we're moving up that ladder, and then we still need, of course, businesses to show that it's not just something we say, you can actually also be such a business. So that's what we're going to be doing. I mean, and we're most likely going to be a lot bigger, but I would rather have every single business in Denmark talking about what are the key design criteria than I would have 1,000 certified B-Corps.
Well, what about, just to touch on the base on B-Corp, how big is it worldwide?
There are 3,500 B-Corps worldwide, so it's not a huge, I think it's 125 million businesses across the world, so it's very small. But the interesting thing is it's in 74 different countries, I think, so it's actually spreading across the world, and you can see that a common sort of idea of what we want to change in business. That dialogue is emerging everywhere. Startup companies like Tact, old ladies like Skagerak,
in new
third,
dresses.
fourth generation, huge multinationals thinking about what is the role that we are having and do we really have, we cannot continue this way. So the stretch in the type of businesses that start as a B Corp or that decide to change their billion-dollar corporation. I think that's the interesting thing of having that dialogue with so many different companies.
Yeah, yes, but do you have anything from your point of view, for your company's point of view, that you say, well, we think this movement, these changes that they are doing in B Corp, this is exactly our vision?
I think, I very much agree with Nille on the development of the movement, and especially the key word to me here is movement. At the beginning, we were not that many, but now we are more. And I can see when we join up in the community, we actually help each other. And I think that's
so it's like a network building.
It's networking, but with like-minded people. And you talk about not what is wrong with others, but you talk about how can you actually do impact. And I like that a lot, and I hope that will continue. And as I see what Nille has been doing the past years, we are definitely on that way, so I like it a lot. And the other thing I like is with the whole standard, it's developing. So if this was the right level, there might be changes in the society. So next year you have to go here to have the same score, and I like that a lot because
it's always
boundaries
improving.
It's competing in a new way. You're competing with yourself.
Compete with yourself, so you measure and you compete with yourself, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Good. Annette, anything in the pipeline coming up on Cradle to Cradle?
I must say that we are experiencing an increasing interest and an increasing number of companies getting certified against the Cradle to Cradle certified standard. And I'm also happy to say that we are now soon launching this version 4, which the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute, who administers the standard, has been working on for several years along with a lot of stakeholders. Also been a possibility for the public to comment on it, and it will be launched later this year.
Can you lift a little bit on what is going to be the new version? Is there any areas?
It is built on the new science and best practice, and we are addressing some of these the current issues like climate change, polluted air, soil and water, etc. And of course the circular economy. So it's always been designed for products for the circular economy, but it's getting even stronger now. So we have the very newest criteria. So we are very excited to get more products certified against this standard.
So is it just for new products or the ones?
No, this is also, as I said, this is a path to positive, as we say. You can develop, you can use it as a design guide, because Cradle to Cradle is both a philosophy a vision, a design philosophy, and this quality standard. So you can use it as a tool for this continuous improvement. So you need to start somewhere and then build on it. And it's both for existing products where you can develop your products according to the standard, and it's also if you can use it as a tool to design new products.
Yeah. That's good. That's also what we hear from Jesper, or for Nille, that is the design guide is really important for the future products.
Of course, we do update regularly on certain issues, but it is brand new now.
Oh, exciting. Lone, what do you think? Now you hear what's coming up. Is there any other things that you would like to point out that would be nice?
I think it's good, and as everybody said, it's a matter of improving, and the target will always be higher, and the bar would be just higher, and this is what happens. And also we experience that our development is not only happening within our own organization, because we are pressuring our suppliers to think in this direction. So it is really this movement. And we are really proud. I know I'm known as the hate woman with our yarn supplier, but actually I'm proud of it. But I think this is what happens, that we all taking this responsibility. We know that we have to improve. And also, very importantly, be honest about the challenges you face. We haven't saved the world, and we will not save it in the next 2 years. That's not possible. But we have to be honest about it. We have to know our challenges. If we didn't map our starting point, we probably wouldn't have known that we have these challenges that we're facing. So I think that's also really important.
So it's helping you also to be more transparent.
Exactly, and that's again a changed mindset, because if I ask our supply chain director a couple of years ago, he would say, no, this is a too close cooperation with one yarn supplier. But otherwise we can't move anything. So we have to think differently throughout the value chain and see ourselves as part of a integrated system.
So this new partnership is evolving, that you both have the same goal, and then you have get stronger ties with some suppliers.
And we need to motivate everyone to take part.
So your push will be good.
Otherwise we can't do anything.
Sure.
So,
sorry, we wait just a moment. We just get the Ecolabel, and because we are waiting for this new version.
Yeah.
and I know also that some companies, of course, we work a lot with circular economy, and this with the reuse materials has been a little bit of a problem for the Swan and EU flour, because of course when you have a source of material that you don't know really where it's from, it could be very difficult in your certification. Is this something that will be part of the new
Yeah,
version?
it's depending on which kind of materials that we are talking about. If it's a reuse of plastic, post-consumer plastic, you can easily use it.
Yeah.
But our focus is, and it's more and more in focus, that we look at the resources that we have. So one of the places where we tighten the demands, it's looking in to use a huge or more reused materials. It could be for metals, it could be for plastic, and so on. And it's also for wood. So yeah, and also the way that we put in the criteria, then it is the products must be designed so they can be reused again. And also one of the things that we put in now, it's also a guarantee, and also that you can separate small parts.
Preparation.
So yeah, in that way you can keep the product in the using phase for a longer time, because we are not working for producing more and more and more and create new and new and new. So we need to have a focus on the world's resources. So that's really one of our main...
It smells a little bit about more circularity that's coming into your issues.
But yeah, it has always been, but we need to put in our demands where we have the industry which can work with it. So right now we of course have a lot of focus on for example, plastic, because now you have the systems that you can take back systems. In that way, now we can put in these kind of demands. But if we did that like for 10 years ago, then what's the use? Because there were no systems to take back in plastic,
so the Reclassic from Skagerak could actually be certified now.
Yeah,
good.
It could. And then another thing that we're also facing maybe within the next 5 years is that we have we experience that a lot of our license holders, they take the products outside the Nordics and also outside the European countries. So yeah,
so in that way,
let's see what will happen.
Oh,
yeah.
Exciting!
Yeah.
We are so excited. Ole, I know that I was allowed to say that you actually had a chair that failed this one certification.
Yes.
What happened there?
It was some with the composite plast that they was not accepting now, so they have to look into their how they because we think it's okay. We have expected it was okay, but then they have the regulation who is turned on every 5 years, and then we have to look into if it's okay or if it's not okay. Otherwise, we have to change it actually. Yeah.
But it sounds like it might be easier.
Yeah. The specific issue there is that at the moment, then we don't have any system to work with the wood, plastic, composite materials. Maybe we will have that in a few years, and then we will find it okay to put in to accept this kind of products. But
I think that would be really good, and maybe better than in 2 years, because we also work with the textile industry, and they like to use some of the fibers into.
I think we have to accept it's like that, and then we have to work with it also. But you know, something we also like to go faster. Like we have paper cord on a lot of our chairs. It's FSC paper, but we can get it certified because it's not in the Ecolabel certified. So.
But it's in the new.
It's in the new. Yeah, we are happy then. I think if we look into the future, I think actually we are sitting here in Copenhagen. Hvad hedder forkælet på engelsk?
Spoiled.
We are spoiled actually. We are the 2% richest people in the world. So I think if we look 5 years, of course we will work with the Ecolabel. We will work with a lot of things. But I also think we have to work where we produce. How does they get energy? How does they live? We use a lot of factories we can produce on because they are not BSCI certified and everything. So I think that's the trend that we have to look into the world, because if everyone in the world was like us, using all what we used, then Greenland was not there anymore. There was just earth and we had water here. So we have to think not just to look at our small country, because we can do a lot of things. So we have to look wherever we produce, how do they produce, and how do they get energy, and how do they live, and so on. So that's I think we're talking a lot more about that in 5 years ahead, because when people around the world is getting to our standard, we have to find energy in another way. So. And maybe transportation in another way, and everything. So I think I think the mindset has been changed already in 5 years actually, and we all have to work fast.
So we are spoiled kids with a lot of responsibility. Now I would like to.
I normally ask people who says I'm very responsible. I ask them, and I can ask you, where is your clothes produced? You have no idea, and you don't know if it's in Bangladesh with child labor or whatever it is. No one knows, even how much they work with this.
That's why I like to work with the furniture industry. It's easier. No, we will have some questions. I'm sure that some of you have said, why didn't you touch this? Or do you have any questions to any of the subjects we actually been going through? Anyone who is daring to put up their hand? Yes, please just tell us who you are. And So just because I think just to rephrase your question, so you're interior design where you take different products, different interior, and how can you make sure that they have the right certification, and how can your involvement be bigger?
Because we know that interior designers really want to start working on circular interiors.
Yeah.
But it's a very complex.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, Annette?
Well, you can actually look up in the Cradle to Cradle certified products registry. There you can find all Cradle to Cradle certified products, and you can see how they have performed in the various criteria categories. So that's one way to get an overview of what is already out there that has been evaluated and certified. You can also see materials which you can make your products out of, which has also been certified. So I think that's one way you can use the certifications, that you know that they have been evaluated against some quality criteria and criteria for circularity.
So if you're sending these standards as your whole project, then I think every one of them have on their website who is actually certifying these kind of things. Nille?
Yeah, but I also wanted to add to your question before about transparency.
Yeah.
You can actually find a lot of information about how they achieved a certain level, And in the future, you will also, for instance, with the Cradle to Cradle, see even more information, because we want to encourage this transparency about not just, okay, they achieved this level of certification, but also how did they do that? Which criteria did they meet to achieve this level? So I think that's a good way to start. And you can also see, for instance, building certification schemes, and like I think that's also for furniture, they are already recognized, for instance, Cradle to Cradle certified. So they already took a standpoint and knowing by comparing the criteria that if you fulfill those, you also fulfill our criteria. Yeah.
And then the supplier would have to meet these criteria. I would just tell the supplier that,
Yeah, the manufacturer, the supplier of the furniture, yeah. And in case of Cradle to Cradle, we go back all the way back to the raw materials to collect the data.
So there's two ways you can actually look at the companies who's been certified or the materials. Yes. Nille?
Yeah, and if you then, I think you need to add a level to that, because it's a great point, Annette, but you have to add a level to that. As an interior designer, you're also a business. You have to define, why am I in business? What is my purpose? And you have to define your value proposition to the world. And if you want to change the way that we are doing interior designs and go and drag out all these elements, you have to define that as your value proposition to the world and to the ones who are buying you. So it has to become what you are and what you are selling. And I think that's for me, building your impact business model around, this is the change that I want to see in the world. There's something wrong. We're buying all kinds of stuff and putting them into. I want to redefine what interior design is. And then I have all these different elements but it has to have a link to not just being 5 Cradle to Cradle certified things. There has to be a philosophy of, how do I run a business as an interior designer? And some of them are individual business owners, so they can decide that themselves. Some of them might be part of something bigger. They have to have that dialogue. Why are we here? What is our ambition? What's wrong with the world that we want to change? This is wrong. This is what I then have to put into my portfolio. So I think there's a double dialogue. It's not just about going out and digging out the different companies, which can be difficult enough, even though we have that on our websites. It's still, you have to go and look for it and you have to figure out, but you need to put that layer on top of it. If not, it doesn't become a value proposition.
But also, I think because you can actually be the one setting the level, and then you can ask what kind of projects you are doing and say, we are up to this, we want to do this, or have the goal about it, and then you can work around what products. Good point, Nille. Anyone else who have a question? Yes? So the question is, if you have a product that's already certified and you are now 4.0 or 2.0, whatever we call it, the next level, the ones that have already been certified, do they lose the certification? Yes, Ingrid?
No, they don't, because they fulfill the criteria at that point, at that time where they were produced. So when we have these criteria, as we were talking about, the new criteria for Nordic eco-labeling swan label furnitures, the criteria document, it will last till the end of next year. And in all that time, you can produce after the old criteria, and then we have the new criteria, and then you produce after them, and then the label or the product are certified due to these criteria. But it's not that it will lose its label.
Okay, thank you. Good. Annette?
Well, with Cradle to Cradle, you have to recertify every second year to make sure that you are still complying with the criteria, and also to demonstrate progress according to these optimization plans that you make when you do the initial certification, and also to advance in the certification level. So we have these 4 different levels: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And in version 4, the bronze is a provisional level. So if you do not manage to advance to silver after 2 years, you will not get recertified. Then afterwards, you can have more time to advance in all categories to the next level. But you can actually fall out. And you also, when we introduce new versions, of course, you have some time to transition and recertify against the new version. But of course, you need to meet the criteria.
I'm sorry, I'm getting signs that we're over time now, but I know we have talked about that you will stay a little bit after the session out in the courtyard, still not raining, so we can have a good discussion and of course 1 meter distance. And we also have something that you can wipe your hands on if you need that, and something on the way out. I want to say thank you so much. I hope we have helped lighten up a little bit what is certification all about, what you can use it, what is in the pipeline, what's coming in the future. It's definitely just the spoiled kids' responsibility on the way, but I think we're taking it very seriously in Denmark. It's very important for the Danish furniture interior industry. We can see more and more companies are very serious about this, and I know you guys are very busy on the certification level, all of you. Just as I now have the word, I would like to make a little bit of sales pitch, because on the other side, we have the exhibition going on, 27 circular brands, also 2 brands out here in the courtyard. Just one of them happened to be Skagerak. And also, please go in. There's also 11 artists who's been working with waste material from some of the companies who had waste material they normally will put to the landfills or getting burnt. So please go and get inspired after this session. And I just want to encourage you, if you have any questions, please go out and ask them in the courtyard. And thank you very much for coming today.